Hey friends, today I'm talking about how math can make you wealthy. My daughter is going into 7th grade and she already knows how to do all the math that can help her make her first $1 million. Check it out. If you want to be successful in real estate, then you need to memorize this equation. Right now, screenshot this, write this down, and you need to learn how to do this math. I'm joking. All the math that you need to be crazy wealthy in the game of business or real estate is right here. That's it. So basically, if you made it through elementary school, you learned hopefully these 4 symbols, right? This is math, subtraction, multiplication, division. This is the only math that I use to make lots and lots of money. In fact, my daughter, when she was in elementary school, she started struggling one year with math. We had switched schools on her, and I got our math tutor. And she's like, "Dad, I don't want a math tutor. My grades are good enough." I said, "Honey, I don't think you understand. You've got a mind for business. And if you want to be successful at business, you've got to be comfortable with these 4 symbols like the back of your hand." And I want to give you some examples as to why. Like, let me just help you understand the basics there. Now, by the way, if you're watching this and you're like, "I'm kind of uncomfortable with math," I'm going to tell you right now to eat it, face it, and figure it out. Eat it, face it, figure out in those orders. Because here's what you basically are going to need to do. If we're talking about the game of real estate, when I bought my first house for $110,000, who cares what I paid for it? I have to know if there's some kind of value in there. And so I actually, this house, even though this was my purchase price, the value on this home was $150,000. So the first thing I did was some basic math. One, I subtracted and I had to figure out 150 minus 110 is $40,000 of equity. Now, by the way, that was more than double what I made my first year working full time. So $40,000. It was enough for me to say, gulp, if I can do that deal and if I can make that $40,000. Right now I'm working, I'd have to work 2 years full time, 50 hours, a week for the next 50 weeks times 2 years, 100. Like, look at all the time. I would have to give hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, thousands of hours to make this money under my old scenario. When I bought this house, my net worth increased $40,000. So this took subtraction. The next thing I wanted to know is what was my actual percentage of equity? This is really important math that I'm about to show you. So I'm pulling out my calculator here. Your phone probably has one of these too. And if I take 110 and I divide it by 150, see, even I still struggle with this. I'm going to actually divide the big number by the small number. So watch this. If I take 110,000, what I can get it for, and I divide it by the value, what it's worth, it shows me a number there, 0.73. If I subtract 1 from this number, the number is 26%. This house had 26% of equity, which represented $40,000. Both of these are really important because this, you can get excited about a figure and say, that's a lot of money. But remember, a lot of money is relative. Percentage is really important. So for example, when I do a deal, I look for a house that has at least 15% equity position under one of my strategies. This house has 26. Now I know, act on that house. So this very basic math that I'm showing you, math, subtraction, division, multiplication, let's say that this house needed $7,000 worth of work. So all of a sudden, I'm going to be into it not 110, now I'm going to be into it 117. What does that do to my profits? Well, this $40,000, if I take 150,000, subtract 117, now what does that turn into? That turns into $33,000. What does that do to my percentage? Let's find out, because if I were trying to flip this, I would need to know this. Now I'm going to take 117,000, I'm going to divide it by 150,000, and now I'm going to get 78. If I subtract 1 from that, it's 22. So 26% now became 22. Is it still a good deal? ARV, after repair value. Before, I had a net figure or a gross figure, and now I'm saying, well, let's now factor in, the repairs. Or I might say, maybe I'm going to hold this for a year and rent it out. Well, shoot, how much income am I going to get? Let's add that in. I'm able to do some very, very basic but very important math. Now, if you have standards, Like I do, when I go into my real estate, I'm looking for a certain amount of equity that's got to represent a certain percentage. For example, let's get wild. Let's say that I was going to buy a multiplex apartment unit and I was going to buy it for $1.9 million. That's my purchase price. But let's say it has a value of $2 million. Well, 1.9 from 2 million, that is a $100,000 difference. If I've never made $100,000 in my life, I could get really excited and be like, $100,000. But that 100 grand don't get me excited. Why? Because look at the percentage. If I take what I'm buying it for, 1.9 million divided by 2.0, I'm actually going to show that it's a 5% position. This number is really small, but this number looks really big. Do you see how they work in tandem together? Friends, in the game of real estate, in the game of finance, in the game of business, if you want to succeed, you got to be able to perform some really basic math really well, and you want to practice crunching these simple numbers. These are the numbers for me to know if a deal is good or if a deal is bad. And I can't tell you how many people I've met that have done bad deals because they didn't do this really elementary math. So I guess what I'm saying is go back to elementary school and whatever business you're in, or if you're in the game of real estate, practice crunching the numbers. I'm just going to show one more of these to you because I hope this is helpful for you. Let's say that I wanted to know if something was a good deal, and it turns out that I'm now performing my price per square foot. So there's a house that is 3,000 square feet and the price in the area is $100 a foot. 3,000 square feet and $100 a foot. Now I'm going to be using this symbol, multiplication. If I take 3,000 and multiply it by 100, I don't even need a calculator. It's going to equal $300,000. In this area, this is what a house is worth. So I look at a house, the next house I look at, it's 2,000 square feet. And at $100 a foot, it is a 2,000 times 100, it is a $200,000 home. This is a $300,000 home. This is a $200,000 home. What's different? This is a third bigger, hence the price is a third more. So I get familiar with my area and I find out that everything is $100 a foot. It's time for me to look for an investment property. And I look into dozens of deals and everything is roughly at $100 a foot. But all of a sudden, a 2,000 square foot home comes on the market and it's priced at $60 a foot. 2,000 times 60 is $120,000. And I'm saying, ding, 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 something does not add up, something is wrong. This house, everything else is selling at 100 a foot, this is selling at 60 a foot. What does that mean? Well, if it were worth 100 a foot, it would be worth $200,000. Why is there an $80,000 discrepancy? Remember, 200,000 minus 120, I'm using basic. Now I went from multiplication to subtraction. Why is there $80,000 of possible equity? We should investigate further. We go check out the house, and we found out that there was a death in the family, and the family just wants to dump it, but it has about $5,000 or $8,000 worth of rehab work. And now you can do the math and be like, I may have found a really good deal here. Now, you don't make your decisions off of this alone. There's next level information. There's comparable market analysis. There's different things that you do to make sure that you can verify, I think I've got a really good deal here and now I'm going to act on it. But this is the math that kind of tells you whether you're moving in the right direction or not. So those are 3 different examples of how I use everyday math that allow me to do multi-million-dollar deals and small basic little bungalows in my backyard. And I guess what I'd say at the end of the day is if you've ever criticized yourself for not being good at math, listen. Everyone has one of these things on them. You all have a calculator. Just learn the basic equations. If you don't know what those are, subscribe to my site. I teach them to you. There's not much math you need to know, but knowing the math will make the difference between doing good deals or bad deals. Hey friends, thank you so much for watching today's video. I thought I would finish with some final math here. This is the emotional math of life. Good profits plus helping people by doing good real estate equals good. It's awesome, right? Well, math, subtraction, division, multiplication, these are the things that you need to rock it out in real estate. Listen, subscribe to the channel, check out some of these other upcoming videos, and if you haven't already, if you want a shortcut, like I'm talking about the ultimate unfair advantage, then check out my website in the link in the description below, and you can talk to a member of my team, and we'll show you how I can be your mentor and actually get you rocking and rolling in real estate right now.